What is up, guys? RSC6414 here, back with another video. This time I'm reviewing Monday Night Raw. It ended about 30 minutes ago. Overall, I gotta say the show is pretty good. Nothing special, nothing great, just sort of average Raw to me. Not nearly as good as last week's, which I was expecting it not to be as good. It's hard to live up to that, but it was a good Raw, solid, pretty good matches, nothing too pointless. There may have been a couple segments, but maybe a match or two. But it's what you expect, I guess, from Raw and WWE. There's always going to be some in a show. But yeah, like I said, decent show. First thing we have, Daniel Bryan comes out. Um, talks about how he's not the weak link and a bunch of other stuff, and clears a bunch of stuff up, trying to clear it up with the WWE Universe, even though we already know he's not the weak link. Orton comes out. They start exchanging words, and then they go at it. Takes us into the match. Bryan Orton brawl, and then there's some kicks. Someone gets thrown over the announce table, and then the ref gets hit with a running kick or knee to the head, and calls the match no contest because he called the match, and sort of stupid. I didn't like that. Then Vicky backstage, Bryan argues with her, says, "Give me a match." She's like, "No," and he's like, "Yes, yes, yes, yes." She's like, "No," and then finally she says, "Yes." Vince McMahon comes out, says, "I don't know why you give him a match, blah blah blah." When someone's so psychologically messed up, blah blah blah. It's like, you know what? Screw you, Vince. I want to see Daniel Bryan in a match. You know what I mean? But yeah, later on we come to find out that Daniel Bryan and Orton will be in a match, and it'll be voted on by the fans. So yeah, that'll be the main event. Uh, Second match we have Rhodes Scholars versus Sheamus. If you considered Bryan Orton a match the first time, Rhodes Scholars versus Sheamus and Christian. This match was decent, nothing special. Rhodes hits a vertical suplex on I think it was Christian, and then he taunts Christian's absence. Then Sandow gets tagged. Then Sandow gets tagged in, and then Sheamus gets tagged in, beats the crap out of Sandow, doing his usual stuff, whatever, white noise, blah blah blah, stuff like that, and then just throwing Sandow around the ring. Rhodes gets the tag on Sandow, and then right when he tags him, only a couple, like, Sheamus bro kicks him a couple seconds, maybe like 20 seconds after he tags and bro kicks him for the 1, 2, 3. Sheamus wins. Not a great match, like I said, decent, but nothing special. Just a decent tag match. So yeah, Sheamus and Christian win. Next thing we have, Punk backstage. Vicky says, "Excuse me," and Punk says, "Do you know where Lesnar and Heyman are?" She says, "No." He's like, "Excuse you," and then tells her that. That was whatever. Sort of funny, I guess. Next thing we have Oksana versus Caitlyn. Short match, but there's a segment during here. It's pretty cool, pretty funny. Oksana starts out real fast, beating up Caitlyn, and then she rolls. Caitlyn kicks Oksana out of the ring when AJ's music hits. Then AJ comes out in a muscle suit and a multicolored wig like Caitlyn, saying Caitlyn's manly, and she's like reenacts the Secret Admirer thing. Big E comes out with flowers, and then during this, Oksana rolls Caitlyn up for a near fall, and then later on, Caitlyn spears her. AJ and Big E are still watching from the ramp, and Caitlyn wins. And they go on and reenact, and AJ's like this in her muscle suit, and like just flexing her arms in this foam muscle suit. Looks hilarious. Started cracking up. She with the multicolored wig. I like Caitlyn, but I gotta say it was pretty funny. One of the best parts of the whole night, in my opinion. I really liked it, but she's basically insulting Caitlyn, and she's like, "Wow, I bet you thought that you finally had a man who thought that there was a man who had a deeper voice than somebody who has a deeper voice than you," just like insulting her feminine, I guess, femininity, if you say that. I'm not exactly sure, but yeah, it was a pretty funny segment. And then she's like, "Big E, it's you." Like Caitlyn just sort of reenact the whole Big E drops Caitlyn thing, but this time he picks up AJ, carries her out. And at this point, Caitlyn's going nuts, but Layla holds her back. Pretty funny segment. I enjoyed it. Next thing we have Jericho versus Del Rio. Really good match. Enjoyed it, but the ending kind of ruined it for me. Back and forth action. Jericho went for a lion salt kick, missed it, went off over the rope, and got slammed against the barricade. Then we go to commercial. Then Del Rio, um, Chris Jericho hits a cross body lateral press for a near fall. Del Rio has Chris Jericho in a cross arm breaker. He counters, puts him in a walls of Jericho, and then he counters and delivers a kick to Jericho for a near fall. But that was the same kick he took Ziggler out at Payback to win the World Heavyweight Championship. But it was a near fall there. Then you have Jericho hitting Running Bulldog, Line Salt, knees. Del Rio puts the knees up, hits Jericho in the head, then puts him in the cross arm breaker, and it looks like he's about to tap, but he eventually gets out of that and then puts him in the walls of, he has Del Rio in the walls of Jericho after he does his normal stuff. Then Ricardo comes with that big bucket he carries the ring, hits Chris Jericho in the back of the head with it, so therefore Jericho wins via disqualification. Then Jericho's chasing Ricardo around the ring. Then by that time, Dolph Ziggler comes into the ring, starts beating the crap out of Del Rio, delivers zigzag on him. Chris Jericho delivers the code breaker on Ricardo, and then it's just chaos. Then Chris Jericho gives Ziggler a look, and then Ziggler hits Jericho from behind with the zigzag, and then takes out Jericho for revenge from last week's Raw, and Jericho delivered the code breaker on Ziggler, so that was pretty cool. Enjoyed this match, but since it was a disqualification, it wasn't as good, but I enjoyed it pretty good. Got a decent amount of time, 12, 13, probably 10, 12 minutes, something like that. Next thing we have Triple H saying Daniel Bryan and Orton should be a match, so then we should let the fans vote, like I said. And then Lawler segment where he's in the ring announcing the cover of 2K14. It's The Rock, Vicky and Brad Maddox are in there. Whatever, I already knew was going to be on the cover. Wasn't too excited about that. Not a huge fan of The Rock, but whatever. Next thing we have Khali versus Ryback. Short match. Khali's delivering some chops and delivers a kick. And then basically we go right into a shell shock, no meat hook. Ryback puts him in the shell shock and then stomps around the ring for like a total of probably 40 seconds with Khali's show, sort of bragging like, yeah, that's right, I picked up Khali, the biggest guy in the WWE, tallest. Look at me, and he delivers the shell shock, 1, 2, 3, just to show how strong Ryback was. It was whatever. I like Ryback, but this is sort of whatever. Not too short match, and it was just to show how strong Ryback was, in my opinion. Next thing we have John Cena segment, just talking about WWE Championship, how you have to earn it, blah blah blah, sort of hinting at Mark Henry that he did all that last week because to be remembered in the WWE, he thinks that you have to win the WWE title belt and blah blah blah. Nothing special, whatever. Next thing we have triple threat tag match. C becomes the #1 contender for the tag titles. You have the Usos versus McIntyre and Mahal, 3MB versus Tons of Funk. Tons of Funk throw McIntyre and Mahal over the rope. Brodus Clay hits a drop on one of the Usos for near fall, and then we go right into one of the Usos just hitting Brodus Clay with the move, and then Samoan splash on Brodus Clay in the middle of the ring. One of the Usos does it. Can't remember if it was Jimmy or Jay, but one of them does it. I know that. Samoan splash. 1, 2, 3. Usos, #1 tag team, #1 contenders for tag team championships. I'm glad about that. Really like the Usos. So yeah, maybe they're getting a push. Hopefully they can win the tag titles. They're one of my favorite tag teams in WWE, so I'm happy about that. Congrats to them. It would be cool if they'd win the tag titles. I like that. I'm glad they're getting a push. The Shield come down the ramp and just hold up their titles. They're in the steps, I mean, like the sections like they normally do, except for Friday Night SmackDown. They came down the ramp, which was odd, but they hold their titles up. The Usos look at them, nod like, yeah, we're #1 contenders. We're going to take you out. So stuff like that. Then we have Paul Heyman comes to the ring. Great segment. I liked it. Just says, Punk's like, you got into it. It's like, you need to tell me now. look me in the eye and tell me over your kids' bodies that you're not lying to me about Lesnar interfering Monday night. He said, I can tell you over my kids' bodies I'm not lying. We're best friends. He goes into this whole story of how Heyman and never fired him in developmental territory, OVW, Ohio Valley, and how Vince and all the upper WWE personnel didn't have faith in him, but Paul did. That's why they're best friends. That's why he's a Paul Heyman guy. Paul says they're best friends. He says, I never had anything to do with this. I didn't know Lesnar was coming. He did that by himself. I had nothing to do with it. They give each other a hug, and that's basically the whole segment. Really enjoyed it. Pretty good. Then we really intense. So yeah, um, I think Paul Heyman probably did have something to do with Lesnar, but we didn't. We won't find out till later, and then maybe he turns heel, and this is CM Punk's obviously turning face. So we have a big Paul Heyman versus and Brock Lesnar versus CM Punk kind of thing. Be cool, probably SummerSlam. So this will probably play out over the next month and a half. Then we have Darren Young, CM Punk. Really good match. I enjoyed it. I like D Young singles match. Showcase what talent he has. Singles action. Just beating CM Punk up a lot most of the time. He hit him with a gut check for a near fall, which is like his finisher. I thought that maybe he'd have him, or I thought Lesnar was going to come out and interfere and he'd win, but that didn't happen. Hits him with a gut check for a near fall, and CM Punk hits him with a kick, roundhouse kick, I think, for a near fall, and then he puts him in the Anaconda Vice. D Young taps out real quick. I don't know if there's something wrong with it, but CM Punk looks surprised. Then Titus O'Neil comes right at him, and then D Young and O'Neil start jumping Punk. By the way, Punk wins with the Anaconda Vice, like I said, taps out. O'Neil and D Young are going at it in the ring with CM Punk, just taking him, stomping him. Then Curtis Axel, the other Paul Heyman guy, comes out, clears the ring. CM Punk hits Titus O'Neil with a roundhouse kick, takes him out. D Young gets out of the ring. Then Curtis Axel and CM Punk eye at each other. Paul Heyman comes to the ring. Later backstage, CM Punk's like, I don't need your help. But Paul Heyman says PTP versus CM Punk and Axel. Vicky made the match. I don't know when that's going to happen. Maybe next week. SmackDown, not sure. But whatever. Probably not SmackDown since Punk never really comes on SmackDown. But yeah, it was pretty good. Good match. And Punk says, I don't need Axel's help and I don't need yours. Like I said, blah, blah, blah. Just sort of moving further away from Paul Heyman. So yeah. Decent match, nothing special. Then we have Money in the Bank. Stephanie McMahon, like she said in the backstage segment earlier to Vicky, she'll announce the Money in the Bank participants since Vicky's so busy. Goes out in the ring. Here we go. She says there was Kane, Christian, RVD, CM Punk. I'm trying to remember the rest. Alright, Punk, Bryan, Sheamus, Orton, Christian, Kane, and RVD. Maybe RVD will win. It makes sense to me, but who knows? Coming to WWE. I don't want Sheamus, I don't want Christian, I don't want Orton. I'd like to see Bryan, Punk, or RVD. Kane would be whatever, but I don't see him winning. But yeah, those were the participants. Kane, D. Bryan, Punk, RVD, Orton, Christian, and Sheamus. So yeah, they're your participants there. And then Ryback versus Jericho gets made at Money in the Bank, singles match. So that should be pretty good. Don't know who's going to win there. Since Jericho lost at Payback to Punk, I could see him winning, but I'll have that in my predictions for Money in the Bank in the future. Should be a decent match. Then we go to Then we go to Mark Henry in promo. Cuts one in the ring. Pretty good. Just saying he fooled everybody. He's going to be the future WWE champion. Stuff like that. Excuse me. Sorry, excuse me. Then we have the main event. Lawler announces it's going to be a street fight voted on by the fans. Bryan versus Orton, street fight, good match. Some kendo sticks. We go. Orton hits Bryan with the chair off a suicide dive in the head. I didn't know headshots were legal. I know they banned them for a while, but it was pretty cool. Bryan was going for a suicide dive. Orton hits him in the head with the chair. Then we have a no lock on Randy Orton, and then Randy Orton hits Daniel Bryan with the kendo stick. Orton smashes Bryan's head into the steps at one point in the match. Pretty cool. and then Bryan hits Orton with a power bomb through the table on the ring apron. That was pretty cool. Enjoyed that. Daniel Bryan looked more impressive and dominated. I thought got more offense in throughout the match. Um, and like I said, power bomb through the table. Bryan hit some kicks. Um, has him some more submissions, puts him in the no lock, and then uses the kendo stick with the no lock to make Orton tap out. So Daniel Bryan wins via submission with the kendo stick's help, I guess you could say, but he wins via no lock, using the kendo stick to help Orton, to make Orton tap and make it more painful for him with the no lock. So yeah, Daniel Bryan wins, no lock slash kendo stick. Pretty good match. Enjoyed it. Probably one of the better matches, I'd say. That and Del Rio Jericho are the two best matches I thought of the night. Decent show overall. Overall grade I give it 6.5 out of 10. Yes, 6.5 out of 10. Pretty good show. Above mediocre, I thought, but nothing special. So I'd say 6.5. I'll give it a 6.5 out of 10. Overall grade for the show for Raw. Hope you enjoyed my review. Check out my other reviews and subscribe. Thanks, guys.